Rudi often talked about the guys upstairs. I don't know if it's because of Rudi or it's because of my own journeying into the ether, the cosmos, the infinite. But I have taken on that terminology. I always refer to them. They said, they told me, they directed me. And often, when I say they, people say, who are you talking about? And depending on who I'm talking to, I try to express that there is something. You can think of it as a plural or a singular plural that speaks to me. I would conjecture speaks to all of us, and that is heard by probably everybody in some way, but one does not always acknowledge the source. In normal human life, the source is mom, dad, teacher, friend, lover. Husband, wife, child. It has a very crystallized specificity. For people given to prayerful observation, there's a kind of quiet sense of being informed in life. People who pray reach for the Father, the Son, the Holy Ghost. They reach for something to give them directionality, to give them purpose, to give them choice, to give them reason, to give them explanation. In the earliest days of my psychedelic journeying, back in the 1960s, 50-some years ago, I don't know that if I would have called it they or them. It was more like an it. But it was really big, really alive, really aware of me, deeply informed, and interactive. Over the course of decades and decades of meditation and spiritual journeying, I've had lots of interactions with them, with it. I've even come to recognize through all of this journeying that I am that. That it and I are not separate. My day-to-day life, for most of my life, has been me operating with the awareness that there is something out there and dialoguing with me on some level. Certainly when I would sit to meditate, I would feel its presence. When I had this awakening, sorry to put in quotes, but this awakening 10 years ago or so, I realized that there were no boundaries separating Bruce from it. It was all one configuration. But I have to say, even though I thought I was profoundly awake, I have over the course of the last 10 years discovered that there is awakening and there is awakening and there is awakening and there is awakening. There is no ownership of this. There is no singular moment that it is done, finished, and you are there. Maybe there will be people who will argue about that, and if I am wrong, forgive me. I can only tell you what I have come to know. But I am deeply aware of the totality, if you want to call it God, higher consciousness, Buddha nature, whatever name you give it, it doesn't seem to care all that much. All it knows, all you know, and all I know, is that this living, pulsating experience that we share called life is that very thing. What I love about life, and truly do love it, is its coherence. I feel it, I smell it, I taste it, I touch it, I embrace it. I also fear it. I also know it has hard edges. It can be dark. It can be annihilating on many, many levels, and it will ultimately annihilate this person who's speaking to you now. This particular channel of the greater good will be gone. Those of you who listened to my talk from last week may remember that I had a choice to stay in this realm and continue to channel this or not. It didn't seem to care, honestly. It was just as happy to remove me from the scene. And again, I don't know why I was given a choice to come back, but I was, and I'm here. But I have not come back without the awareness of here and there being the same place in many levels, and that everything here is vibrating with totality of life. From every minuscule object, every choice I make, every time I pick up the spoon, everything is vibrantly alive, and everything is charged with life and death simultaneously, creation and extinction simultaneously. And what a strange, narrow path we walk between one and the other. Never, ever knowing when you tip into the non-materialized side of existence. The lesson from last week, which I've had an opportunity to enumerate to a number of people, and is a very simple lesson. Hard to learn perhaps, but really important in day-to-day life and in general. And the lesson is, be prepared at any given moment to say yes. Because it doesn't care if you say no. It does its own thing. It is alive and well and maneuvers itself into all these forms and frameworks, and we are part of that journey, and it is profoundly aware of us in it. And it deeply loves us. But it does not love us individually, separately from everyone else. We are part of its totality. We are an expression of its oneness. We are not and will never be special, singled out. And one of the things I felt when I was returning back to the self was how unspecial, not unloved, but unspecial. I was. As I've often said, the resume falls away. Everything you have done, everything you did, in a certain sense, reflects your being. And as you return to, the word that I want to call it is love. As you return to love, all of the unloving parts of your being become very visible suddenly. As you're being loved, everything in you that feels unworthy presents itself. So the journey into oblivion and death is a journey through your own sense of unworthiness. The meditative experience, the journey of sitting still, the journey of opening to life and being, is to become worthy. Maybe just to feel worthy. Maybe if we could just feel worthy, that would be enough. But as far as I can tell, the universe wants us to become worthy. What does that mean? How do we become worthy? Well, I can tell you, it's a moment-to-moment reaction to being alive, to being here, to what is. It's found in kindness. It's found in putting away the dirty dishes. It's found in not tracking mud into your house or cleaning it up if you do. Worthiness is these tiny little fragmental actions that make you really feel respectful, grateful, and acknowledging of the wonder of what this is. Tossing your Coke can out the window when you're driving is an unworthy act. Somebody else picking it up is an opportunity to be worthy, but tossing it out becomes part of the ledger of your life. When the time comes to leave this world, that ledger is visible. You will remember at some point along this way into dissolution that Coke can. And you will feel beyond guilty for having tossed that can out of the car and left it for someone else or something in nature to bury. You will feel accountable. We are all deeply accountable for every choice we have made. Now, we can't undo it all. That's really hard, although maybe every lifetime is an opportunity to undo stuff. But here's the incredible promise of this great love. And the word that comes through is forgiveness. You can actually forgive yourself for being stupid, unconscious, inappropriate, doing the wrong thing. You can forgive yourself. And if you're really lucky, you have opportunities in life to go to people and ask for their forgiveness, to apologize for the things you did wrong. And if they give you that forgiveness back, that lessens your need to try to forgive yourself, which is sometimes much harder than being forgiven by others. And if you can go into the world and apologize for the things you did inappropriately to them, if you can let them know you did your best and you don't know how to do more than that, and that your ignorance and your hostilities and your dramas got in the way and you know it shouldn't have been as it was, you can just say, forgive me, please. If they don't forgive you, honestly, that's their problem. Your asking for forgiveness is the right thing to do. There are all these behaviors in human life that are all trying to get us ready for the accountability of meeting them, it, us, they, in the plural and in the singular. When you lift up out of this world, you will all discover, I believe, forgive me if I'm being completely wrong, because I could be, but the journey out of this world is multidimensional and vast, massive beyond belief, and it is the experience of confronting, recognizing, seeing, and bowing down to God, or whatever name you've given it. It doesn't care what you call it. It doesn't even have a name, honestly. Hebrews go G-D because they can't give it a middle O to give it a solid name. It has no name. It is beyond understanding, beyond our comprehension, but the fact of its isness is absolute. This idea that you're separate from it can get washed away in this lifetime, and we'll call that enlightenment and awakening and realization. If that happens, great. It just means you can operate with a much greater understanding of how to be kind, compassionate, and loving of your other expressions of self. You learn how to be a good guy, caring person. Even then, you can fail. But you learn how to go, well. You really do learn the aso lessons of life. When a thing comes at you, you go, aso. You learn that. There's so much we have to learn, but the big thing that we have to learn is being here is a holy experience given to us for reasons beyond anything we understand, and leaving here is the penultimate version of the having been here. The realization that here and there are not even two places. The way infinite, immaterial abstraction of matter forms into solidity, form, and coherence is miraculous. I do not understand how it works. I do understand how comforted I am by the material world. I knew when I chose to come back to life, I wanted it to make sense again. I like sense. I also knew that it's not going to stay that way, and that I have to prepare myself for understanding nothing and letting go of everything. And I was ready, I think, to do it. Something pulled me back. They gave me a choice. In that choice, they were very clear to show me that I am coming back to an exceptionally imperfect world on many levels, that things are not going to be as I particularly like them. That if I do come back, there is work to be done. That work is no different than what I have been doing for a long time, or we've all been doing, and that work has to do with bringing love and light into what will be an increasingly loveless and dark space. And they pointed it out to me very clearly. Darkness is coming. I think I indicated last week it even had Trump in the mix. It was very clear. There was a lot of stuff that was going to go on that was not what we would call pretty, happy, joyful stuff. And that's a real problem, because we all want that. But we are collectively beginning to sense that this world is changing, and it is not pretty. It's going through something we do not understand and have never experienced before. What do we do with that? Well, we can get tight, fearful, isolated, cut off, pretending not to notice, or we stay alert and we stay aware and we stay grounded in the one space that we all have, the heart of love, the connection to self, the ability to trust, the ability to navigate the world. We can help people. We can help each other. We help others. But we have to find the refuge in ourselves in order to bring people in, and helpfully to bring them into their own refuge of self. I think that's the mission, if there is a mission. You know, when I took that LSD trip and I came back from it and I said, why am I back? They said, to tell people what you saw. Well, clearly that's what I'm doing, and they're giving me more and more availability to understand and to experience and to express the reality of what I saw, and that's really what I'm doing here. Those of you who are here because something in you knows that there's some truth to this, and this is a cumulative journey that is going into a very complicated moment. Whether it's finality or whether it's just a dark doorway, who knows really, but it is going to be challenging, and we are all facing a challenge. If this is too heavy or dark for you to listen to, turn it off. Go somewhere else. You know, there'll be other voices out there talking in the wilderness, and there'll be voices talking in the public square. There will be people telling you nothing is wrong. Climate change is a hoax. The world is not in trouble. There's no problem. Everything is wonderful and perfect and beautiful. Okay. In some regard, honestly, that's true. The great thing to know is that this finite space of worldly existence arrives from something infinite and eternal. That infinite and eternal, once you have tasted it, experienced it, trusted that it's there, have gotten an inkling or have a big shot of truth coming through you, once you know that, you can live accordingly. If it's nothing but trust and faith, that's great. If you've actually been out there and they've talked to you and told you come back and do your work, that's great too. One way or another, we're here. I appear to be a voice for them speaking this stuff. If it speaks to you, I think that's great. I don't want to be an alarmist because I don't think that is the best version of all this, although I get alarmed personally, privately. But the great gift I've been given, one, is you, an opportunity to pull this thing into time and space and express it to all of you. And in expressing it to you, it gives me clarity, it gives me joy, it gives me a sense of being of service to something great. I don't know. I mean, it could be just a good movie that I'm writing here, but I really, really, really feel, excuse me, that we are in a very powerful, potent time. And how we navigate that time as certain kinds of things we've always believed in and known to be true disappear, we have to find our grounding in the deepest possible way. Excuse me. I keep wondering how many of you are thinking this is coronavirus. You know, that's for those of you who see this in 500 years. Coronavirus was another episode of Panic on the Planet about human death. I will acknowledge very quickly that human death is going to happen to all of us, and it's going to happen to the planet, it's going to happen to the universe. Get over it. Now we have to deal with, what do we do with this moment, this very, very moment of our lives? Sitting here together in this class is communion. It is a connection to something beautiful, real, loving, absolute, infinite, eternal, and for reasons that make no sense, it seems to arrive in our presence. And it takes all of us and gives us this momentary aha. Sometimes we can carry it through the week, sometimes we can't. But we bring it back pretty much weekly. And the objective is bring it back every day. Bring it back. And my learning right at this moment is they're doing it second by second by second. There is not a second that isn't being informed by this thing, them, this truth. And I have never witnessed the world being so alive ever as I'm experiencing it now. It has charm, it has fear, it has everything, it has the totality. And you have to find a way to navigate the totality, and the best navigational system, the best way to do it, take a breath, go inside your own refuge, sit down and observe it all from a quiet, still place that will tell you exactly what to do and when to do it and how to do it, and do what it tells you. let them tell you what to do, how to navigate. And if they decide to take you out at any given moment, which they may do, say yes. If they give you the shot to come back, I'll tell you, I chose to. I don't know that that's the right choice, but I'm glad to be sitting here with you guys today. I'm glad to be sharing this thing again. I'll continue to do it until I don't. And I think this message is important. I think they are working through us, with us, and as us to build this unbelievable, unimaginable reality called life. Beyond anything one can conceptualize, it has manifested, and we are its very essence. And we give joy to it, and we give all the dark forces to it. We are everything in the mix, but somehow there is an injunction: live it with love, live it with kindness, live it with consideration, be contemplative, be meditative, be quiet, recognize it for what it is, say thank you, and go about your day. I can put this on a loop and just continue and continue because I got nothing else to say. But rather than do that, I'm going to just go done. I will tell you this is all I know. And, if there's not another recording after this recording, it's fine. I can't tell you anything else anyway. So I love you all. Thank you for coming. And I guess I can ask if you have any questions.
You're talking a lot about, or we talk a lot about letting go, and we talk also a lot about doing or action, and when we talk about, when you say, the more you come to realize that Bruce is really not here for more than a couple of reasons that you may keep him here. What do we follow when we do? Are we following them that is informing us? Are we following some inner sense of morality that we have, or truth that we have? And if we are following that truth or that morality, whose truth is it? If us is not here,
Them is us, and that morality is here. It's really here, and you can find it. You can go out and find it in the books and teachings in outer form from other people in the Bible. You can find it in the Quran. You can find it in all these different ways. They're lines to truth and to guidance and to what to do and how to be. The other version of that is it's implanted within us. It's inside us. It's not only implanted, it's alive within us. And if one just learns to go deep into the heart chakra, which is where we learn it and know it emotionally, we can then turn it into intellectual expression through the heart, through the third eye chakra, the brain, the mind. But mostly, it's a felt experience, and it's a guiding system, and it's right there, and it's the same thing as you would get from outside if you go to the higher teachings. But of course, everything gets corrupted in the world in some way. I don't know how or why. That seems to be its process. So the endless purity of being sits inside you if you haven't been totally corrupted. If you've been corrupted, there is work you can do to overcome that corruption. It is unbelievably demanding real work. When I was living in the Tibetan monasteries and looking at the Tibetans, they go on these huge pilgrimages. They walk around mountains just to undo the corruption, to undo the bad karma that they've had, trying to find their way back to this simple purity. Do you need to do that? Well, if you're Tibetan, I think maybe yes. If you're an American, we don't quite walk like, we don't go on journeys of purity. But that's one thing we can do. Sitting in meditation every day against our better minds saying, you got stuff to do, you got jobs to do, there's good TV shows on. Sitting still and going into this place inside brings you back to this simplicity of, oh, that. It's a knowing. It's an amazing kind of, this is the right action. This is what I do. This is how I am. This is how to be as a person. The rules are written inside everybody. There's nobody who doesn't have them. If you need to hang on to outer rules, the Ten Commandments are good ones. There are various rules and laws out there that are in the external body of us, but the internal body has it all, and it comes through knowing. And knowing is real. Those of you who watched the senator from Utah, what's his name? Romney, this last week, talking about following his conscience, following God within. It was a perfect demonstration of somebody ignoring the outer demand of the world to go into unconsciousness and evil, let's say, and to find a place of deeper truth, even though it was going to cause him a great deal of pain on the outer world. He found in himself, in his teaching, in the liturgy of his Christian teaching, he found the power inside himself to ignore the pull of the world and go into this place that every one of us who saw him doing that, who has a spiritual bent, bowed down to and said, yes, yes, that's how it's done. It was really beautiful. And then seeing the rest of the Congress not doing it was also like profoundly instructive. How easy it is to get lost in this world and not know this guiding principle. That principle is found if you will sit and look. Seek and ye shall find. Ask and it shall be given. Knock and the door shall open. That's what we're taught. Most people are not seeking, they are not asking, and they are not knocking. They're just walking through the world banging up against everything, and that causes a lot of problems. Why was the world created like this? I have no idea. Who are we in that world? We are that which is trying to listen to and obey the voices or the voice or the instrument of being that comes through and inspires us to live it in a really positive, good way. That's who we are. We're trying to be that. It takes incredible work. There are a lot of people doing it, not sitting in this class. A lot of people are led to this kind of life and being. And I honor every one of them. You don't have to come to something like this to get it. It's out there in a million different ways, and it's in here in everybody. But if you ignore it at your own peril. And I can only tell you, when I first witnessed that, I was made very aware of where I had ignored things. And I felt really bad about it, because they were going to rip it, they're going to shine it in my face, tell me very clearly where I had made mistakes so that my psyche and soul would not forget and would never do it again. And then it put me through a journey of having to expiate all that stuff, all in this was a psychedelic experience, but you can dismiss that if you will, but it really was an understanding of how this works. Don't mess up your life by giving in to the wrong temptations. You have to really find this voice in yourself and begin, because of something in you that's compelling, to listen to it, pay attention, do the right thing. If you do that, life, when the time comes to say goodbye to this bodily experience, you will say goodbye with a sense of gratitude for having been here and wonder for what awaits you, rather than shame. Does that even get to the part of your question?
Yeah, but that doesn't negate, falling off the horse, right? Like, even if you're following this,
you get up, you fall off.
You still fall,
yeah,
don't you?
Yeah, you can. Often. Daily. Get up, forgive yourself, get back on. Over and over and over and over until you're a pretty good rider. And then you get old and you can barely balance on the horse. Truly. Then you have to walk alongside the horse. Then the horse dies. And then there you are. And all that training is what? How to ride a horse, even without a horse, even without being on the horse, even with not even having a body anymore. You learn how to do it. You learn how to be. And that's what we're doing. And it's a remarkable thing. Just because everyone else around you isn't doing it doesn't mean it's not to be done. It needs to be done. And I will tell you, when the elephant comes in the room, when death appears and you realize there is no getting out of that room without being part of that elephant, you are going to, at that point, have a lot of wondering about what did I do in my lifetime? How did I live this life? What did I do right or wrong? It all is accountable. And you don't want that account to be a ledger that is 500,000 pages of things you did wrong and 2 pages of things you did right. Because you have to deal with that. It will be dealt with. There is a process as you leave this world of trying to clean it up and get the ledger to work, or at least becoming profoundly aware of how much you messed up. And then they, I don't know this for a fact, but I guess they give you another lifetime to try to undo the bad stuff and do it better. I mean, that's the Buddhist idea. Hindu, I'm not sure if I understand any of that, but I do know that ledger exists, and that you had best, if you're aware at all of what's coming, you had best get the balance sheet working. It's not a good idea not to. And I don't know many people who are, to be honest. And I walk around with, especially people you care about. And you can't make anyone do it. You cannot do it. All you can do, love, honor, be present. That's all you can do.
Yeah, hi. I was sitting in a Holy Mass today, and at one point, the priest during homily, at one instance, said that you should always say yes. And it's amazingly enough, you mentioned the same thing when you were, on the course of your talk, and I just wanna say this relationship.
It's a really, really big teaching. And most people don't understand it. But not a lot comes out of saying no. It shuts the door. Yes opens a door, and the unknown is explored more deeply. So I do see yes as being a really powerful choice for people. And nothing I'm saying on this talk is in any way divorced from what they're saying in churches all over the world.
Yeah,
We're all
I'm
talking.
surprised, that's why
We're all, everybody has their own voice and their own version and their own congregation and people who hear it in their own way. I'm only saying it this way. I do think, I guess everyone thinks they offer a direct path to awakening and totality. I guess everybody does. I certainly think this is a truth that I have explored and witnessed and am continuing to witness and explore. So I share it. I think it's helpful. It helps me to verbalize it. And as Blanche always says to me, why don't you listen to your own talks? I actually have done that. I've gone back to some of my talks, and it's like, oh, thank you. Because it's not any person talking really. The talk is happening, and they're real. I think they're real. They have some value. And if they don't, so be it. Go listen to something on TV. Okay? Okay.
I find that too. Like yesterday, I went to the funeral of a cousin of mine who took her own life. And they asked me to talk a little bit. And I did what I always do when I'm in a situation like that, is I don't prepare anything. I just get up there and, just like you're doing, letting it come through me. And later on I said, well, what did I say? Or was it good? Or because you don't even hardly remember when it's coming out like that.
Yeah, it's not you.
Yeah.
You're the vehicle, you're the messenger, the message is you've become a channel. Everyone in this room, at the best of our achievement, are going to become hoses that the water pours through easily. That's all we will be. and that will water and nurture many gardens. That's it. Big deal. But I'll tell you, when the water's not flowing and the flowers are dying, that's a sad event. So keep the hose loose and available. We're not the water. Well, we are basically, but we are in a body form. We are the vehicle through which it passes. Okay, guys. Thank you. Next 2 weeks, I'm in LA and San Rafael. San Rafael next week on the 14th, no, on the 16th, and the 21st will be in Pasadena. And people out there who listen to this, please come. There'll be Oakland. The Oakland class is actually at Shelley's house. So that's where we'll be first. We'll be back here at the beginning of March. It's going to be a very expansive time. Our house is going to be starting to come together, and pretty much in somewhere late March, early April, we'll be living in a whole house again, and that'll be really nice. And I look forward to inviting you all to partake of the expanded space. It'll be really pleasurable. Thank you for coming. I love you all.